Support comes from ServiceNow. We're for people doing the creative work they actually want to do. That's why this ad was written and read by a real person and not AI. You know what people don't want to do? Boring, busy work. Now with AI agents built into the ServiceNow platform, you can automate millions of repetitive tasks in every corner of your business, IT, HR, and more, so your people can focus on the work that they want to do. That's putting AI agents to work for people. It's your turn. Visit servicenow.com.
Your weekend is not complete without the First Lady of New York Radio. It's the Joan Hamburg Show. Talk Radio 77 WABC.
A new book, an almost new year, and a familiar face and voice to so many of us. The one and only Lidia Bastianich, who's come out. I don't even know what book this is, but she's going to tell us. Lydia's From Our Family Table to Yours. And Lidia, in conjunction with one of her children, Tanya, has created at least 11 recipes for every occasion. And, you know, it's the kind of book that you pick up and you want to make everything, whether it's eggplant and peppers, which sounds so delicious, or fettuccine with caramelized onions, bacon, and chives. Just one delicious recipe. Gnocchi made from chickpeas, baked fresh sardines, all the goodies. And Lidia, what book is this? I can remember.
Joan, it's number 16.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And there's more than 100 family recipes. You know, you've been on air all these years. I know that your followers always want to know about your family, what they do, what do they like to eat. And so, you know, this book is in response to all of those viewers that says, Lydia, what does Joe like? What's his favorite food? What do you cook for Tanya? What did Grandma love the best?
Right. Grandma loved good food.
As she certainly did. So this book has those recipes that reflect the family recipes, simple, straightforward, and delicious.
And really delicious. And God bless your family. They love to eat.
Well, you know, you and I always get on this subject. Your family is not that bad either. They love their holidays and their preparations.
No, they do. And everyone loves to cook. My son cooks. My daughter is a really good cook and cooks all the time. And she says it makes her relax just to be in the kitchen.
Yeah, it is. That's what food does, you know, cooking. A lot of people say, and you know what, Joan? A lot of men are really getting into cooking. Yeah, and they say, you know, I love cooking. But it is, because it isn't, in a way, you know, you're creating, you're kind of focusing on that. So your mind is on that. It's nice, it's delicious, it smells good. But also it's a way of giving, of nurturing the people you love.
Without question. And I remember you telling me over the years that you often will have, for a Christmas, you'll start with a soup. And I do think I even read that in your new Lydia's book.
You know, soup is very important. Ever since I can remember, especially in the wintertime and fall and, you know, around the Christmas holidays and whatever, a soup, and usually a chicken soup, you know. We start with an antipasto, which makes it easier. You know, if you have a big crowd, pulling out an antipasto with its cold-cut cheeses, some marinated vegetables, and nice crusty breads and all of that. That's a great way to start. But then sitting down, soup, you know, you put we usually put the big pot on the table and ladle this soup out. If it's 20 of us, if it's 25, if it's 30, it's not all that complicated. But we love it. It opens up kind of the appetite.
Yeah, and it sounds absolutely delicious, and everyone eats it. But do you find you do your antipasto? Is that a buffet?
Yes.
You put it out on the table.
Yeah. To make things easier, you put it out on a table. You set up some tables around the kitchen, wherever you have space. And you spread it out, and you put, and then what I do, I set up a little bit kind of bar as well, you know, where I put the Prosecco, the wine, the Bastianich wine out there, or whatever, and let them sort of help themselves because, to serve everybody an appetizer and a main course, let's say a pasta or a soup, and a main course at the table is long. I make a buffet, the appetizer, and you know what else, Joan, I make into a buffet? The desserts.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah. So everybody gets up, nice and easy. They walk around, they relax, gives you a chance to clear up things. You put the little plates up there and all the desserts. And, a lot of people bring with them desserts
Of
that
course.
they baked and whatever. And you just spread it out. Fruits, us Italians love our fruit, our panettone, our torrone, and all the other desserts that,
Now, go ahead, Lydia.
So the opening, the antipasto, and the finish makes it easy. So you have only, let's say, 2 courses, or if you're serving pasta, 3 courses to serve.
Yeah. And does the family have a special thing that they request every Christmas beside the soup?
That goes into a little bit of Christmas Eve, which spills into Christmas Day, and that's the bacala. Bacala mantecato, catfish. We have to have it. We have to have it for the Christmas Eve, especially because it's sort of fishy, and this bacala mantecato, because bacala, catfish. They have the salted catfish, which you have to soak, and then you can cook it in a tomato sauce or in a cream sauce with potatoes. But they also have the stoccaficio, which is the dry cod. It's like wood. You buy it in the ethnic stores. I bought mine already, mind you. And it feels like wood. It really dries out. You have to reconstitute it, soak it, then you have to cook it, and then you have to cook it until it sort of comes back to a kind of softer texture.
Right.
Not completely soft, and then you whip it. You whip it. Usually it used to be done by hand, but now I put it in the processor, and I put olive oil and garlic and salt and pepper, nothing else. And it whips up like a brandade, if you will. You had brandade, right?
Right.
So this is what it is. And you make it the week before Christmas Eve and slowly sneak a little bit until Christmas Eve is the big day. And then it resurfaces for Christmas Day on the buffet table. It has to be there.
Wow. That sounds really good. And do you do a lot of pasta, too, for Christmas Day?
Not that much, because the soup, which capon soup or a good kind of free-range chicken soup, and then we make the tortellini there. But we also have not only the tortellini, we have gnocchetti de gris. Gnocchetti de gris is something like matzo balls. It's made out of semolina and just a little butter and cheese and eggs, and you make this little the little gnocchi, like little gnocchis,
right?
And you cook them in the soup. So it's very similar to, and we love that too. And it's kind of easier also. The tortellini, you have to make them. You make them in advance. That's great. But gnocchetti de gris is also something that is very traditional to us, and it is like little matzo ball gnocchi like.
It sounds so good. And what about your mixed broth?
Well, the broth. For the holiday, for Christmas especially, capon. Capon is a kind of a prized bird, as far as festive bird, if you will. We don't use much turkey in Italy.
Right.
That's American, but we do have the capon, and the capon, for those people that don't know, it's a castrated
Rooster.
Rooster, exactly. And so it kept all its flavor. It wasn't fooling around with the lady chickens, so it keeps a lot of flavor in it, and it's really a great stock. And so we do 100% for Christmas. I do 100% capon soup. I put the feet, I put the head, I put everything in there. Lots of vegetables and leeks and celery and carrots and onions, and you know what I put also in there? The rinds of cheese, like Grana Padano or Parmigiano. I save them, and then I just wash the rinds and put them in there, and it's a really delicious and complex soup. And with a gnocchetti de gris, a little grated grana on top, that fits the soup and the kind of pasta course.
It's funny. I was clearing out the refrigerator last night, and I came across a big in a big baggie full of the rinds. And I thought, oh my gosh, I don't know how long they've been here, but I used to, Lizzie had a very good Italian friend for many years, and he would insist that she save all the rinds to add to her soup, to her stock, to her stew, whatever she was making. Can you keep those rinds for a long time?
Yeah, cheese keeps good. Sometimes you might get a little bit of mold on the cheese rinds, but take the like a vegetable brush
Peel it
on
off.
the warm and brush it off good. You have to brush the rinds anyway good. Or scrape it. I use a little paring knife and I scrape it sometimes when they have things. And once you have washed it well and all that, it's ready to go. And you can make just a great soup out of the rinds.
How do you do that?
Well, you put the rinds and water, and of course you put all the vegetables, the onions, the carrots, the celery, the parsley, little peppercorns. I put a little bit of tomato paste, like a spoonful of tomato paste, and you let this simmer, and then you season it with salt, and you have a great, actually vegetarian soup. If somebody does not like meat or want meat, but it is a great soup, and it's traditional. They make it in Italy.
Right, it sounds good. And I noticed that your grandchildren, whom I've watched since they were babies, are now in there cooking with Grandma and doing a great job.
Yes, they are. Kids, when they were small, they were with me, and you went through this, and then they become teenagers, and then
Right.
they kind of don't want any part of all of this. But once they get back into adulthood, if you will, or in college and all of that, those skills that they learned with Grandma in the kitchen serves them well because they become popular in the dorms.
Exactly. Bring the food.
Exactly. A nice spaghetti clam sauce or spaghetti tomato sauce or baked ziti. The whole floor in the dorm comes to them, and they tell me, they call me a lot of times, Grandma. The other day, one of them calls, says, Grandma, I have a butternut squash. What should I do? What? I says, clean it, wash it, cut it in pieces, roast it, nice, then put a little bit of toasted almonds and a little bit of balsamic reduction on it, and makes a great meal. And they loved it.
They love it. And I love that they all love to cook, because I remember early on, you only wanted Joseph, your son, to go to grad school, business school, not in the food business. That lasted like 2 minutes, not in the food business.
Exactly. Well, he ended up going down and working for, I think, Merrill Lynch and whatever, until one day he just quit, and he came to the restaurant, and he said, Mom, quit. I said, what do you mean you quit the job? You don't quit jobs. And I said, why? He says, Mom, I wasn't happy. And I said, what do you want to do? So he says, well, I think I'll hang around here. I said, oh, my God, now I'm going to have him here. But you see, it was his passion. He wasn't happy down there, and, he's still in it.
Right. And
so my daughter.
And loving it. And she, too.
Yes.
From the very beginning.
Yeah. It's sort of, I guess it grows. You grow into it. It sort of enters your blood, as they say.
That's for sure. Well, you have to take it as a good compliment that the kids want to follow in Grandma's footsteps. And
yeah, absolutely. Now the grandkids, I don't know. They're interested. They're cooking and whatever. But let them fly off and test the waters, and then we'll see who'll come back.
Yeah, well, I have a feeling you better expand your kitchen to fit all of them who come back, who grew up with this love. And food is so many different things. It's not just, as you have taught all the rest of us, not just a recipe. It's a way of life. It's hello to family. It's comfort. It's so many different things. Every time I cook my mother's favorite food, I have her with me, and I'm sure your family is going through that with Grandma now.
I do too. I think she's right there with me. The spirit is there. The smells, the flavors. It all brings you back. Your memory goes to a place that you spent with those people, and it makes you relive. It feels really good inside. And for me, it feels good that I transport this to my children, to my grandchildren, and so on. This is this is what life is all about, I guess. We have our families. We do the best to make them grow into decent human beings, and then their children, as grandma, even more. You're a grandma. I always tell my kids, your kids, which would be my grandkids, are the biggest gift for having you guys.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, Lydia, thank you so much. I love the new book, From Our Family Table to Yours, and Lydia did that with her daughter Tanya. But
Yeah.
all of the Bastianiches are into the world of food and family and comfort and have shared a lot of this with all of us, making our lives better.
Joan, I want to share one more thing. This year is 25 years that I am on PBS. And on the 18th, on PBS at 8 o'clock, there will be a special, Growing Up with Lydia. It's my years as a child coming into America and then making my way into America to who I am today. So that's a tribute from PBS to my 25 years of being on public television. So if you have a chance, watch it.
Of course we're going to watch it. And when you first started, it seems like yesterday that
25 years.
I know. It goes by, though, right? Who can believe it? From a restaurant in Queens where you would go pick the dinner from the garden or whatever.
Right. You were there. You were there.
That's right. We used to go, and we worked with the Fitzgerald family, a wonderful original radio family, and they would pick up their priest and me on Sunday nights, and we'd go out to Queens to Lydia's, who was just starting her adventure in this amazing world of food and family and comfort. And that's history now.
Exactly. And I appreciate all these years that we were friends. You had me on so many times to share my passion with your listeners.
Right. And everything is good. I'm still using my Lydia sauces, which make, you can, sort of when you serve it and they say, oh, that must have taken you forever to make. Just smile and pass it around. All right. Happy holidays to you and yours. Say hello to everyone.
Thank you, Joan. The same to you and your family. Ciao.
Ciao. I'm Joan Hamburg, and that was Lidia Bastianich. Stay tuned.